Today we're going to solve systems of equations by substitution. So before we begin, let's discuss what it means to substitute. Okay, think about school, for example. If you have a substitute in, what does that mean? It means we have a teacher standing in place of another teacher. We have a teacher substituting for another teacher. I can't bring in a monkey to substitute because they're not equivalent. So a substitution has to be of equal value. Okay, so to solve by substitution, here are the steps we're going to take. First, we're going to solve one equation for one variable, meaning we want one of our equations to say x equals or y equals, and then all of the other information after it. So pick the one that's going to be easiest to solve. We'll look at a couple of examples. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to substitute, there's that word, we're going to substitute the equation from one, the one that we got the variable by itself, into the other equation, the one that we haven't used yet. What that's going to do is it's going to give me just one variable, so now I can solve the remaining equation for that variable. And then I can use that value to substitute back in to the other equation. So let's look at what that looks like. Okay, so let's solve this equation or this system. We have x equals 2y plus, sorry, no, it doesn't say that. It says x plus 2y equals 8 and y equals 2x minus 1. So the first step is to solve one equation for one variable. It does tell me to choose an easy one, so I'm going to be smart about that. The one I'm going to use is the one that already has the y by itself. So I already know what y equals. It equals 2x minus 1. Now what it tells me to do is substitute this equation into the other equation. So I'm going to take what y equals. Y equals 2x minus 1. And in my other equation is x plus 2y equals 8. In place of the y, I'm going to put what y equals, this 2x minus 1. So I'm going to get x plus 2, and in place of the y, I'm going to put what y equals, 2x minus 1. Now what you should notice is that now my whole equation is in terms of x's. There are no more y's in my equation. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve for that variable. So we get x plus 4x minus 2 equals 8. This is really part of 3's up in here. And then I would get 5x minus 2 equals 8. I will add 2 to both sides. So we get 5x equals 10. And then we divide by 5 to get x equals 2. So now we have what x equals. Now what I can do is use that new value from 3, the answer I got from 3, to find the other variable's value. Now it doesn't really matter which equation you pick. You can pick either the x plus 2y equals 8, or you can pick the y equals 2x minus 1 and take what x equals 2, and substitute it in place of the x. So that would look like this. In this first equation, that would say 2 plus 2y equals 8. Or, well, let's just solve this one. If I continue to solve this one, I would need to subtract 2 from both sides to get 2y equals 6. Then I would divide by 2 on both sides to get y equals 3. So I know that my x is 2 and my y is 3. So when I want to express my answer as an ordered pair, I'm going to express the answer as 2, 3. Remember, it's an ordered pair because these are actually lines and we're finding where they intersect. Okay, let's just verify though that if I used this other equation and substitute x in, which is 2, I would get the same thing. So is y equals 2 times x minus, 1, when x is 2, do I get the same thing? Well, I get y equals 4 minus 1, and y equals 3. So you can see we get the exact same y value either way. So my answer to this system is 2, 3. All right, I would love for you to hit pause and try these next two examples. Now, the second example here on the right is actually a little bit more similar to the example that's up here that we just did. So you may want to try this one first and then this one, but it's up to you. So hit pause and come back. Okay, I would have tried this second one first because it's more similar to the one we did in the example. So my first step is to get an equation with a variable all alone. Well, the good news is I already have that in the y equals negative 4x minus 8. And then what it told me I should do after I do that is it says I'm going to substitute that back in to one of my other equations. So I'm going to take what y equals, this negative 4x minus 8, and in place of the y in the other equation, I'm going to substitute that in. So we would get negative 8x minus 3 times the y value equals 8. Well, I know the y value is negative 4x minus 8. Okay, so now my job is to solve. So I'm going to simplify negative 8x plus 12x because I'd have a negative 3 and a negative 4, which would be a positive 12. And then I'd have a negative 3 times negative 8, which is plus 24. And so combining my terms, I get 4x plus 24 equals 8. And now I would subtract 24 to get 4x equals negative 16. Divide by 4, and we get x equals negative 4. Okay, so I did all that work, but I'm still not quite done because I need to figure out what y equals. So I have several options. I have two options that I can plug this x into to figure out what y is. But I think I'm going to choose this bottom equation again. And I'm going to say y equals negative 4x minus 8. And in place of the x, I'm going to put what x equals, which is negative 4. So solving this, we would get y equals positive 16 minus 8, so y equals 8. Okay, so my final answer is negative 4, 8. How'd we do? All right, let's look at this next one. And if you didn't have a chance to try it already, hit pause now that you've seen two examples and see if you can answer this one. All right, so what we're going to do, this one we actually need to get a variable by itself. In my second equation, I think the easiest variable to get alone is going to be the x. The problem is with x minus 2y equals 17, I need to move the 2y to the other side so that I can get x all alone. So we get x equals 17 plus 2y. Well, this is what I'm going to take and plug in place of the x in this other equation, the equation I haven't solved for. So in that equation, I would have negative 4x minus 2y equals negative 8. Substituting in what we know x to be, which is 17 plus 2y, now I can go through the process and start to solve. So I'm going to distribute my negative 4. So we would get negative 68 minus 8y minus 2y has to equal negative 8. Okay, so let's combine like terms. I'm going to add 68 we get negative 10y equals negative 8 plus 68. Oops, we could probably just do that. Negative 8 plus 68 gives me positive 60. And I need to divide by negative 10 now to solve for y. So y equals negative 6. But I'm not quite done, because now I need to figure out what x equals. And it does not matter which equation you go back into. We can substitute into this top equation. We can substitute into the bottom equation. We could even substitute it into the equation where we solve for x to begin with. So I'm going to take y equals negative 6, and I think I'm going to go into the one we solved to begin with. So that equation is x equals 17 plus 2y. And in place of the y, I'm going to put a negative 6. In solving this, we get x equals 17 plus a negative 12, so x equals positive 5. So my final answer is 5, negative 6, the ordered pair. So that is solving by substitution.